Hello guys, welcome back. So let's do a new topic, protozoans. So first know the meaning of protozoans, then we'll move forward. Okay. So protozoans, they are single-celled eukaryotes. Okay. They are either free living or parasitic in nature. That means either they will live freely or will live on someone to get the nutrition, to get the nourishment, or we can say they depend on someone else to live. Okay. So now let's learn about the protozoans. So the first protozoan that we will be learning is Toxoplasma gondii. Toxoplasma gondii, it causes toxoplasmosis. The disease which it causes is called as toxoplasmosis. It is a unicellular organism. Its shape is very important. It is crescent shape. Crescent shape means half moon shape. Okay. It spreads through cat feces, a very important point as for the croc. And you should know that we do GEMSA staining for finding this Toxoplasma gondii. And when we do this GEMSA staining, in the microscope, we see blue cytoplasm and red nuclei. Okay. And lastly, you should know that if someone has this Toxoplasma gondii in them, if someone is suffering from toxoplasmosis, then what will you take from that person to diagnose this disease? So material for diagnosing is blood. You take blood sample, okay, for finding this disease. You should also remember that it is highly teratogenic. Now what does this teratogenic means? I've already told you this teratogenic meaning when we were doing genetics. Okay. This teratogenic, it means terror-like effect in fetus. Terror-like effects in fetus. Very grave or very terror-like effects in the fetus is teratogenic. This Toxoplasma gondii, if a pregnant woman gets this Toxoplasma gondii, then this Toxoplasma gondii can pass through the placenta and will enter into fetus and cause this teratogenicity. So along with Toxoplasma gondii, there are few other infections which doesn't come under protozoans, but they have this feature of causing teratogenicity. Okay, so these infections are called as torch infections. What it is called as torch infections. So here T stands for Toxoplasma gondii. O stands for others. Now this others include HIV or syphilis. R stands for rubella virus. C stands for cytomegalovirus. H stands for herpes virus. So you can see I've written a lot of viruses. Rubella is also a virus. Cytomegalovirus, herpes virus, and syphilis is caused by bacteria. And Toxoplasma gondii, it is a protozoan. Okay, these all torch infections, they can cross placenta and cause terror-like effect in fetus, or you can say it causes teratogenicity. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This torch infection, please remember these names of the organism. For Toxoplasma gondii, there is a specific treatment we give. So for the treatment of Toxoplasma gondii, we give cotrimoxazole. It is a combination of two drugs. Okay, this cotrimoxazole. We'll be studying this in pharmacology. For herpes virus, you can remember that it is for the treatment of herpes virus, we give acyclovir. Okay, so Toxoplasma gondii, we give cotrimoxazole, and for herpes virus, we give acyclovir. So whenever in the question you see they have asked for the treatment of the herpes virus, the answer is going to be acyclovir. Okay. Normally, for protozoans, you can write an important point. Normally the treatment for protozoan is metronidazole. The name of the drug is metronidazole. For Toxoplasma gondii, it is specifically we give cotrimoxazole because it has better effects than other drugs, okay, for Toxoplasma gondii. But for other protozoans, we have this metronidazole, the drug which we give if there's any person getting infected with the protozoan. So let's do the second protozoan. The second protozoan is Entamoeba histolytica. Okay, this Entamoeba histolytica, it causes the disease amoebiasis. Very important, amoebiasis, or you can also call it as dysentery amoeba. Dysentery, you can write it as diarrhea, but this amoebiasis or this Entamoeba histolytica, it causes a specific type of diarrhea, that is a bloody diarrhea. So if you see in the question bloody diarrhea, then probably they are talking about Entamoeba histolytica, that is amoebiasis. One more thing that you should remember is that if in the question they have given amoebiasis, in the question if they have given Entamoeba histolytica, then this Entamoeba histolytica, it causes liver abscess. Okay, it causes liver abscess. So if in the question sometimes they mention the patient is suffering from liver abscess, then the organism you should think about is amoeba, Entamoeba histolytica. Okay. Now abscess, in pathology you will be doing this, but for now I am telling you that abscess means pus in cavity. Okay, it is an extra point which I am telling in med biology. It is a part of path morphology. Okay. Second thing you should remember about Entamoeba histolytica is that it has 4 nuclei. A very, very important point, that it has 4 nuclei, and it spreads through fecal oral route. It spreads through fecal oral route. And sometimes in the question, they'll give you the feature of the Entamoeba histolytica, that within its erythrocyte, within the erythrocytes of the Entamoeba histolytica, they will have a food vacuole. So within erythrocytes, food vacuole is present. Okay, this was about Entamoeba histolytica. Okay, the next protozoan is Entamoeba coli. Now Entamoeba coli, for this you just have to remember that it has 8 nuclei. So difference between this Entamoeba histolytica and coli is that histolytica has 4 nuclei, coli has 8 nuclei. Okay, please remember this part. Let's do the next protozoan, the fourth protozoan, that is malaria. Malaria, it is a disease and it is caused by a vector which is a mosquito. A vector is a mosquito, and the name of the mosquito is female Anopheles. Now you should remember the name of this mosquito, very important. Okay. Second thing that you should know is that it is a non-flagellated protozoan. Non-flagellated protozoan, so it doesn't have any flagella. Third is regarding the fever. There is something called as tertian malarial fever, or only sometimes they mention malarial fever, or sometimes they'll tell you tertian fever. This tertian malarial fever, it is also called as 2-day interval fever. 2-day interval fever, or they also call it as 48 hours fever. Now the reason for it is that 2-day interval means 2 days the person won't have any fever, but on every third day, that is tertian means 3 days, so on every third day the person will have a fever. Okay, so this is tertian malarial fever. Another is quartan malarial fever. Now quartan means 4, that means on every 4th day the person will have fever. So another name for this is 3-day interval fever or 72 hours fever. Okay, lastly, they can also mention this malarial fever as wasting fever. So write down malarial fever, also known as wasting fever. All the points which I am listing for every protozoan, it is very important for solving the crop questions. Okay, so remember all the points. Lastly, they ask regarding the malarial cycle, life cycle of the malaria, that some of the life cycle occurs in the liver, whereas some happens in the erythrocytes. So there's only one question that they ask from here is that at what stage of the life cycle of malaria does the person will feel fever? So chills or fever are felt at merozoite stage. So at this stage, when malarial life cycle reaches this merozoite stage, at that time the person who is having the malaria inside him, he will start to feel chills and fever. Okay, Now let's do the next protozoan, that is the fifth protozoan. The name of the protozoan is Lamblia intestinalis or Giardia intestinalis. Many of the time in Croc they mention this Giardia intestinalis. This Lamblia intestinalis or Giardia intestinalis, it causes the disease Giardiasis. Okay, the disease is Giardiasis. It is a pear-shaped protozoan. The shape is not very important, but you should know this shape. Okay, pear-shaped protozoan. One more thing important you should remember is that it has 2 nuclei and multiple flagella. For multiple flagella, sometimes they number the flagella. Sometimes they'll give you it has 4 flagella, 6 flagella, 2 flagella. At that time, 2 also indicates multiple. Okay, so if they give you 2 nuclei plus multiple or some kind of a number with flagella, then your mind should think about this Giardia intestinalis or Lamblia intestinalis. The second point is the very, very important point. Okay, so please remember it. The next protozoan that you should know is Balantidium. For Balantidium, you should know it has 2 nuclei and it is ciliated, that it will have cilia. See, 2 nuclei is present in Lamblia intestinalis also, and 2 nuclei is present in Balantidium. But what differentiates them is the flagella and cilia. Flagella is present in Lamblia intestinalis, cilia is present in Balantidium. For this, you can remember that after B comes C. So B and C go together. So Balantidium will have cilia. Like this, if you want, you can remember. For 2 nuclei, it has a specific type of 2 nuclei, that is, 1 nuclei is a macronuclei and 1 is a micronuclei. So sometimes in the question they mention that there is an organism with 1 macronuclei and 1 micronuclei. So at that time also, your mind should think about Balantidium. Now it spreads through. The way of transmission for this, by drinking pond water. So if someone drinks pond water, they might get this Balantidium protozoan. Okay. The next protozoan which we will be studying is Trypanosoma gambiaceae. This Trypanosoma gambiaceae, you have to remember that it is epidemically not dangerous. They don't ask much about this protozoan. They just list some of the organisms and they'll ask which among them is not epidemically endangered. Then you should know that Trypanosoma gambiaceae is not epidemically endangered. That's all you have to remember regarding Trypanosoma gambiaceae. Okay. The next protozoan is cutaneous leishmania. It causes the disease leishmaniasis. Okay. It is caused by, or the vector for this is tsetse fly. The tsetse fly is sand fly actually, but for Croc they call it as a mosquito. It is a fly, but Croc call it as a mosquito, so write that also. Okay. The next thing that you should know is that it spreads through inoculable way. Now, inoculable way means inoculable is related to vaccination actually, but vaccination with a needle, it basically here means that with a needle, if you inject a needle into the skin, through that somehow this cutaneous leishmania can get into the human body. Okay. The next point you should remember is the symptoms of it. That is, ulcers will be present on the skin and face. Now cutaneous itself means skin, so it will be obviously related to the skin. So now you know there will be ulcers present on the skin and the very sensitive part of our body, that is face. Okay. The next protozoan is visceral leishmania. Right now we did cutaneous leishmania, right? Now we are doing visceral leishmania. Now visceral leishmania, it is also known as, write down, Kala Azar. It is also known as Kala Azar. The second thing you should know about it is its spread. It spreads through a sandfly. The name of it is Phlebotomine sandfly. Phlebotomine sandfly. Now as I said, the sandfly sometimes they call it as mosquito in the Croc. So they might give you Phlebotomine mosquito. Okay, in the option. The next point they might give you in the question is the Asian countries. Mostly they give India. Okay, they'll give that a person visited India a week ago and now he came back to Ukraine and he has some problems like hepatomegaly and splenomegaly. If such a question they give, then you should think about visceral leishmania. Now visceral means organ. So here the symptoms are related to organ. You can see hepat means liver, megale means big or enlarge. Okay, spleno is for spleen, and megale again is big or enlarge. So liver will get enlarged, liver will get big, spleen will also get big. So visceral leishmania causes hepatomegaly and splenomegaly. You must remember that. And then in the question they might mention something regarding the Asian countries. The last protozoan is Trichomonas vaginalis. Now Trichomonas vaginalis, write down a very important point, that it has sharp pointed ends with undulating membrane. Now this undulating membrane is the key point for this Trichomonas vaginalis. In the question, 95% times they will mention this undulating membrane, okay, as a feature for Trichomonas vaginalis. Or sometimes they'll give you that the patient has strawberry vagina. Now strawberry vagina means it will be highly inflamed and painful vagina. Strawberry, because it's highly red, strawberry is red color, right? So it is highly inflamed and painful vagina. Lastly, you should know a test for diagnosing this. The test name is Whiff test, in which we take the vaginal swab, and in the vaginal swab we add potassium hydroxide, that is KOH. If the person has this Trichomonas vaginalis, this combination of vaginal swab and potassium hydroxide, it will give a fishy smell. Okay, that means the result is positive for Trichomonas vaginalis. This Whiff test was once asked in the Indian medical exam. Okay, so you should remember this. And the treatment for all, I have already told you that it is metronidazole. Treatment for protozoan is metronidazole. Especially for Toxoplasma gondii, we give cotrimoxazole, as it is more effective in that case. So that's it for protozoans. Thank you.